What word drives you nuts when it's mispronounced? My mom always says specific instead of specific. Doesn't matter how many times I correct her. It drives me insane when people pronounce frustrated as frustrated. I hear a lot of people calling the upcoming census a consensus. Coleslaw. I've heard cold slaw before, but my brother's ex used to say coleslaw. It bugged the out of me. For all intensive purposes instead of for all intents and purposes. When people say espresso when they mean espresso. I have a coworker who thinks the word principal is principalities. It's just the principality of the matter. I cringe every single time. It's a moot point, not a mute point. Also supposedly is not a word. Supposedly. There's not a B in supposedly, god damn it. Library, not library. The head of media and library in my school district is almost aggressive in her determination to pronounce it as library. Of instead of have. I won't even give an example, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't drive me nuts, but one of the hosts of this podcast will kill you always mispronounces Giardia as Geradia and the other one always gives her for it. It's hilarious. I once dated someone who pronounced balsamic, like the dressing, as Bislamic. I couldn't convince him otherwise, and needless to say, that relationship didn't last long. If you're in Arkansas, pronouncing Arkansas or Arkansas might piss you off, since I heard it's somewhat illegal to mispronounce the word. I thought the word tortoise was said turtwise until I was 20 and my ex was convinced I was retarded. My 5-year-old daughter says gone when she should say went. I gone to the bathroom. Mom gone outside. It's went crystal. Went. Real to not relator and texts not Textus or Texas. Not a mispronunciation, but a misspelling I see a lot. Instead of typing, should have they type should of. Goddamn. Read a book. Edit. Way I worded it was weird. Old timers instead of Alzheimer's. My blood boils just thinking about it. When people say Shelly instead of actually, this one hits a special nerve because my name is Ashley and I always think they are addressing me at first. Okay, it might actually be a proper way to say it somewhere, but when people say niche instead of niche for niche, come on man. Data. I'll sit back and let the internet decide which one I'm talking about. It's more a phrase. I can't bear people saying I could care less to say they don't care. That's just not the expression, and if you put 2 seconds of thought into it, you would realize that. When people pronounce meme as meme, etc. bugs the hell out of me. Yes, I pronounce it Paschetti. Is there another way? Without further ado, ado not adieu. Chipotle when pronounced Chipotle. The T comes before the L. Then equals / equals than. Forsake. Not an out loud pronunciation, but I'm betting, if you write, so QTE you mean me to hear so QTE, but all I hear is so QTE, which means you are wrong, and god I just hate this so much. Phonetics are a thing. Quote or bust. My sister-in-law, and now her children, constantly get much and many mixed up, no matter how much times I correct them. Realtor. It's not pronounced realtor. There's nothing between the L and the T. Not exactly mispronunciation, but when they say self-depreciating humor instead of self-deprecating humor. When people say someone is asleep instead of someone is asleep. Mischievous. Mischievous. There's no I in the vowels. I'm sorry I have to. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa. Nuts. I'm tired of the scene, but hillbillies calling the newts. Grind me up some of dem coffee newts. Bleh. It isn't a mispronunciation, but there is no such thing as a hot water heater, it's simply a water heater. It's by accident, not on accident. My husband calls the juice you get in a pouch Capri Sun. He hardens the A and puts the emphasis on the first syllable. Makes me want to smack him, so now he does it more to bother me. Also escape. I know it's not a mispronunciation, but people who use literally instead of practically, it really bothers me. It's cetera etc etc. It's etc. Cavalry is dudes with pointy sticks or shooty bangs on horses. Calvary is a hill in Jerusalem. Saying YRSH instead of wash. Just why? There's not even an R sound in there. Worcestershire. I bet half of you stumbled over that word while reading this. White, no it's not, it's white. I don't see an H before the W in white. When people use and are at the end of a sentence which is incorrect. Diabetes. I hate when people say diabetes. Valentine's instead of Valentines. Can I accuse you something? Drives me up the wall, that one. People saying axed instead of asked. Sandwich instead sandwich drives me fucking nuts. If you pronounce Reese's Pieces as Reese's Pieces, I automatically want you out of the gene pool. Also when people pronounce allele as allele. It's milk not milk. When someone pronounces a German word wrong. Jaguars pronounced as jaguars. Across, when most people say acrost. Cache generally means a hiding place, pronounced cache. People say cache all the time. Spanish poquito equals little/less amount, diminutive. When they go and say poquitico just pisses me off. Proper if it can apply poquitolo. I hear this at least once a day, usually from high class Spanish speakers. I do not know why, but it does bothers me a lot. I actually want to know the answer to this. Is it wheelbarrow or wheelbarrow? So I was sat in the chair. No, it's I was sitting in the chair. Good damn it. Caramel, not caramel. Caramel. People tend to say my name is Scene, or Cian even though it's Scene. And as a kid bullies would say my name is Scene, so that's why I snap when people say my name like that. Awry. My partner reads a lot, as do I. We were discussing our favorite words. I said blasé and awry. He scrunched his face and said, do you mean Ori? We still say Ori to each other all the freaking time, and it makes my cold heart melt. My name, you gave it to me mom, say it right. Cash is pronounced cash. Just because it has an E on the end, doesn't mean you have to throw on a French accent and pronounce it how you think they would or do. Cash AY is definitely not correct. Orangutan. Almost everyone I meet pronounces it orangutan. There is no G at the end of it. I work at a zoo, and it's difficult to not correct every guest who mispronounces it. Why do people say Naruto? Not a pronunciation, but when people say less instead of fewer. When people say February instead of February. I was in an argument with someone, and they kept saying, that's a moot point. It was not. Weary instead of wary. For me personally, I hate when people who work on ambulance can't pronounce it as ambulance. It's not ambiance. My wife hates when I don't pronounce Nasan as Nasan and Mario as Mario. She also hates when I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Portage, it's with a longer. When people type would have instead of wolf. I always said ambulance as a kid and always pissed my family off. Whoa, it's a ambulance. My old boss said irregardless constantly. It's not a word, Jen. When people pronounce mature like mania. When people say sure instead of sure. Specific and Pacific drives me nuts when I mispronounce them. When people say wuff instead of wolf. Salmon. I lived in Washington for a long time and my friend always says it with the L. It's so annoying. Aluminium. Looking at you, America. Similar. I live in Texas, so over half of the population says similar, and I want to grab them and shake them once really hard while screaming it's similar, there is no you. Maybe it's just me as I work at a craft store, but when people pronounce cricket as circuit. When people pronounce Ralph Lauren as Ralph Lauren. I mean that's not even his real last name, but it's not the point. Ralph himself confirmed it's Lauren. Even Fraser Crane said it wrong. The mispronunciation of pronunciation drives me quite insane. Italian. Mother-in-law always says Italian instead of Italian. When someone pronounces caramel as caramel, there is an A in that word. Can I ask you a question? That sweet Italian cream cheese used in desserts is called mascarpone, not mascarpone. I used to work with a girl who said supposedly instead of supposedly. Drove me up the wall every time. When people say have instead of have. For instance, I should have known that. The word is veterinarian, not veterinarian. 6 syllables. 6, not 5. Veterinarian. When Americans pronounce any word with 2 T's in the middle and make it sound like 2 D's. Better becomes better, etc. Makes me shudder. Nuclear rather than nuclear. Picture, not picture. We are not pouring a beverage here to need a picture. Using them when you should be using those. Pass me them chips. Those chips. Those chips. Schedule when it's pronounced schedule. Wash/wash. I trained myself out of that habit early. Library. We don't borrow books from a library. Jalapeno is not Japolino or jalapeno. Jalapeno. Ruin is ruin, not ruin. Damn oak isn't ruining ruin. Mischievous. There's no after the V. Stop pronouncing it as if there is, you bunsack. Milk instead of milk. It's subtle but it drives me insane. Cache. Cache. Clear cache and cookies on your browser. My 4th grade teacher pronounced crayons as crowns, and I very much dislike it, but apparently it's normal from where she's from. Could have or should have rather that cold etc. especially over text. Just end me. Espresso. I'm a barista, so I've had espresso more times than I can handle, haha.